Awesome. Hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with ClearanceJobs.com, and welcome to today's webinar with ManTech, Mission First, Innovation Always. We are delighted to have everyone here who's participating in today's webinar. It is an interactive webinar, so if you have questions, be sure to type them in or share them here. We would love to get participation. We have the lovely ManTech team here with us. I'm going to share some information about what they're doing, some of the exciting opportunities they have, and a little bit more about what you can expect from a career at ManTech. Again, we really appreciate everyone who attended. If you have a question as we go through, type it into the Q&A. Don't raise your hand. I'm not going to call on you and let you talk on the webinar, but type it into that Q&A. We will get to as many of those as possible, and if not, we'll follow up afterwards. So really, again, appreciate the ManTech team for being here and sharing your expertise. You've been a long-term partner with ClearanceJobs. The work you do across national security, incredibly important, as we've seen even from the participants here that are speaking and presenting from ManTech. They have opportunities across the country in a variety of fields and skill sets. So a lot to learn today. And with that, I will stop talking and we'll turn it over to Jessica McCann with ManTech. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindy. Um, so next slide, I guess. Um, we really want to thank everybody for joining us today. So my name is Jessica McCann. I'm one of the recruiting managers here at ManTech, and really just want to kind of provide you with a brief overview of us and what we do, and then we'll turn it over to some of our industry leaders here at ManTech. But we are a trusted mission-focused partner dedicated to delivering next-generation technology solutions and services. And our mission really is to empower our nation through a highly skilled workforce, securing, delivering innovative technology, strategy services, digital solutions, and operational data. So our core capabilities include cyberspace superiority, data and AI, software systems development, and intelligence mission support, among others. And the next slide, please. So ManTech has been recognized with numerous industry awards, including Glassdoor's 2024 Best Led Companies and being named a 2025 military-friendly employer. Additionally, we offer strong learning partnerships such as those with Purdue University Global and ACPT, which is the Advanced Cyber Training Program. Brian will give us an overview later in the presentation. While our employees work to secure the safety of the world, right, ManTech's total rewards package ensures a secure future for you and your family. So employees earn competitive compensation along with flexible benefits designed to support your physical and mental well-being and financial future. We also offer additional learning and development programs, including tuition assistance, to keep you engaged and growing in your career. Our career site is a great place to start your job search. If you're not ready to apply yet or do not see an immediate opening that fits your goals, we invite you to join our talent community. And you'll see later in the presentations, there's a few QR codes that'll take you right to those. And that will allow you to receive the latest updates and job openings based on your preferences. We really hope the rest of this webinar provides additional insight into our capabilities and how we can be your employer of choice. The next slide, please. I think that last one is just our QR code. Perfect. And that'll take us to the site that will look at our Why ManTech for careers. And then I'll now turn the presentation over to Troy to kind of discuss our work in insider threat. Troy, you're muted.
Oh, classic mistake. Sorry about that. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're dialing in from. Thank you for taking time. We're always excited to engage with potential talent that we can bring to ManTech. I've been with the company over 10 years, and I want to talk to you a little bit about insider threat. If you can go to the next slide. I just have a slide, really just kind of talking points. I think if I did slides, it would be too much. I'd have too much material for like 40 or 50 minutes. So as Jessica said, we have tried to insert ourselves into the most pressing problems that customers may have. So specifically in the intelligence community, around the year 2000, the concept of insider threat or auditing the workforce became a concerning topic. So much so that we had some people in the right place at the right time, and we happened to help an agency get that effort going. You can call it insider risk. You can call it insider threat. They used to call it centralized audit. There's a lot of different terms for it. So we've been at that as far as supporting a customer for uh, over 20 years. Since that time, and I'm going to keep our customers specifically, I'm just going to say the intelligence community. But we support two of the most important agencies within that currently today. And and I need to make a distinction. My experience and what I'm going to talk to you about today is the go-to-market. It's focusing on the customers that we serve, the people that we hire, the subcontractors that we hire that work at a government location. That's different than our corporate insider threat. That's a different group of people. However, we've been able to be we're very grateful for, and we've been lucky to have some of our former customers who were former intelligence officers, former counter espionage counterintelligence investigators who now work for us in our corporate department. So everything that I'm going to speak to more comes from being on a program like the ones that we have at the intelligence community. So there's a lot that can be said as far as what an insider threat program is or is not, or what the goal should be. I just want to summarize it by saying this: whether you have a company or you are a government agency, the number one goal is, can I monitor my entire workforce? Do I know where they all reside? Do I have the ability to have at a minimum, some tool or technology reach out and pull back information and data on what that person is up to? Depending on the complexity of the organization or the company, they may have multiple systems that they log into each day, that they do work from, that they search. So each one of these creates an additional challenge for an insider threat group to understand what that employee is doing. So by the time they, let's just say, badge in to they badge out, their workday begins, their workday ends. Can can a can you, as a customer or the CEO of your own company, can you account for all of the activity that this particular of any particular employee throughout your enterprise? So that's kind of the overarching. It's a huge goal. It's a huge objective, but it really paints the picture of how critical this is. Now, when you get into government versus corporate commitment, the reason I've had that there is uh, corporately in security is not a revenue generating function, and so corporately you'll see cases. You may not have as much time and as much money to work on a case, and we'll get more into a little bit of what cases look like versus the government side. For example, our chief of security uh, in his former government life would spend years, sometimes 3, 4, up to 8 years on certain cases that of espionage, for example. So those are, when you get into espionage and you get into cases that important to national security or the implications of what that person has done, that can take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of working with legal entities, et cetera, along the way to make sure um, that you're doing it correctly. And so when you look at the insider threat group of a company, you may not have that luxury of being able to spend years and years on a case. I just want to at least at the forefront explain that if you're looking into a career in this and versus working for a private company versus working for the government, there would be a big difference in that. So let's talk about reactive and proactive. Reactive, so the insider threat group, and this is the workforce, if you will, that you've pulled together. If their job is to then monitor and pull in information from all over the enterprise, and hopefully you can distill this down to this person actually did it, right? A user attributable action versus just some system log or system generated thing. Um, your group is going to perform two very important functions. People will trigger security or trigger the police or trigger their management into, maybe this person is doing something nefarious, or they're troubled in life, or they're making mistakes, and they can task the insider threat group with an action. Say, hey, can we take this as a case to kind of monitor this individual and see if they're up to whatever they're up to, whatever kind of wrongdoing. So that's reactive, meaning the lead came from externally from your group, from your organization, and that's extremely important. You need to have analysts on board in order to support investigators, and that's actually one important point I should make when it comes to MANTECH's role in insider threat. We are not the investigators. We support investigations. We support investigators. The investigators are typically a government to government function. It's the customer function in the work that we do. So a lead can come in, and that's good. You need to be able to help that investigator with whatever their needs are for data. Because again, the insider threat group should have access to, they should have virtually access to any data that they need in order to support an investigation. Now, proactive is very different. That is using technology and using the latest and greatest technology and using a lot of engineering and innovation to create the lead, to create that your own tip, which then you would submit to an investigator to say, hey, as an insider threat group, since we already have access to all of this data, we've decided to create our own alerts, our own notifications, our own detections, if you will, on that data, looking for certain patterns of behavior that we've learned over the years in supporting this customer. So that's a huge value add if a program can then go to a security group, the police, whomever it is that has investigative authority, and say, hey, we think we actually may have something we should look at together. That's a very powerful combination. Now, not every government agency out there houses the engineering, if you will, where the proactive detection, where that innovation can occur, and the analysts together under the same program. In our experience, and I would advise any government agency to always do that. You want to have the engineering side of the contract and the analysis side of the contract together under the same program. It works better. It's more efficient. But you will see in lots of agencies where that's not the case. And your analysts will sit in some other part of the organization, and the engineering will sit on another part of the organization. Well, those analysts need access to those tools. And so when we start talking about advances in trends and proactive detection, well, the whole concept of machine learning and AI have really matured. And those are starting to be incorporated now into this fabric of data, trying to mine through the ocean of data that is out there to try to find that wrongdoing and that nefarious activity. And we're also seeing a trend in behavioral psychology. Behavioral psychologists are extremely important because the bad actor, the person doing the wrongdoing, they're trying to, in many cases, they are trying to cover their tracks, right? They don't want anyone knowing what they're doing. So they can be very savvy, they become very sophisticated. Well, a behavioral psychologist on board allows additional support to that analyst that's looking at the particular activity of an individual and may may not have enough wherewithal to determine, wow, is this person really, in their conversations they're having on email or instant message, or the documents they're writing, the correspondence that they're having with their manager or their team, is there something that just doesn't fit, that doesn't seem right? There's been a huge advance now in using a behavioral psychologist, having them on board with the insider threat team to do additional analysis. And this gets really important when you get into the actual case and case management, because you may have, as I was talking about before, where if you have the ability to kind of track someone over a period of time, maybe a longer period of time, you need to be able to go back into that case and look what some of the initial findings were, what some of the initial reports that were written, and then maybe that just kind of died off, and maybe that investigation languished, and now the person has actually through advanced or through proactive detection mechanisms, maybe they've resurfaced. So case management is extremely important to, and there's lots of great tools out there. At the end of the day, just pick one. Whoever you're supporting, just have them pick one and use that, and use it effectively to document the findings as they come in, then the person's activity, and then even the collaboration and the back and forth with that investigative element, that investigator, that tracks us all the way through. It may end up in an arrest and some sort of prosecuting event. It may end up in suspension of clearance if the clearance is involved. There's some disposition with that, and it's important because again, there may be someone who had been under suspicion right now, and it may be another 5 years from now. Can we go back and find that record? Can we go back and know, oh, we actually looked at this person in a prior job, in a prior role, whatever it may be. Now, there are some trade-offs. Many of you, if you're familiar with this, understand the cost to keep data. It's extreme, and I mentioned before, there's oceans of data, right? We're really, really good about generating data from all these different tools. Well, where do you store that? So when when working with customers, we have to balance the art of the possible with what's realistic. So most don't have the ability, they don't have an endless budget and endless infrastructure, even if it's within the cloud, whether it's an on-prem system, which a lot of our highly classified customers have. The whole infrastructure sits, within their walls versus using a cloud infrastructure. Well, there's a cost. There's a cost to keep data. And so that is something that MANTECH is a value-added trusted advisor. We work with those customers on making sure they understand, okay, let's prioritize the data and let's make some trade-offs from those, maybe the data that we can put in cold storage, maybe there's data that we just have to let go, versus the data that which I would consider the crown jewels. We would consider the crown jewels. And then therefore you're helping them to ensure that they aren't just holding on to something that's not worthwhile, right? That you constantly are revisiting that priority and making sure that their customers' money is well spent. Now let's get into suitability is kind of the last point I want to make here. And that comes down to the people that you hire. In our experience, our folks have a top secret clearance and they'll have up to 2 polygraphs to work on a certain program. Well, our customer will do an additional check, a suitability check, if you will. For this particular individual, even though they have a clearance, do we want them working here? Do we trust that they are going to be good stewards of data, that they're going to be able to protect, the national interest, and that they're going to do the right thing when they come across those individuals who are breaking the law or potentially breaking the law or violating whatever ethics and codes of conduct, and et cetera. So because you are now monitoring the entire, your job is to monitor the whole workforce. But what most customers could do and should do is then also you have to monitor the watcher thing. So now we have people watching us to make sure that if we're gonna be proposing that someone get arrested for wrongdoing, well, our people can't be doing those same things. We can't be above the law, right? We have to follow our own rules, and we can't be subject to that kind of same behavior. So there's a few things in place, but one is, and you may have internal audit, we'll call it, watch the watcher, but another is just being able to be to vet that person. So be a little bit more careful if you're a hiring manager. When you hire someone, you might want to spend a little bit more time with them beyond just an interview, and have a couple other folks interview that person and assess, do we feel like this person would be a good fit to work in this organization and on this team. That's the suitability, just to kind of put it broadly. It's a very exciting mission. I will tell you that the people that we have that work for MANTECH or our subcontractors, these are positions that this is a career. We've had people that are still on that program 20 years later that still work because the mission is that important. And it's one of those jobs where you truly wake up each and every day and think, well, what am I going to do today to contribute towards the advancement of protecting national security? And a lot of that protection is going out and finding folks who are up to no good. And there seems to be no shortage of people that are up to no good. And that's our job in supporting a customer, supporting a company, and making sure that it's as clean as possible. So that's what I have for now. I'll turn it over now to Brian, and maybe we'll do Q&A at the end.
Thanks, Troy. So, what I'm going to talk about for the next 15 minutes or so will be offensive cyber and what that entails, and talk a little bit about the things we're doing associated with it and the type of people. If you're interested in offensive cyber, what types of skill sets that entails, and the type of personalities that mesh well with it. So, with that, next slide, please. So first up, I want to kind of define a little bit about what offensive cyber means and what that entails. So the majority of the time that you hear about cyber and you hear about anything with computer security, the majority context, the 95% of the time, you're talking about the defensive cyber operations and the computer network defense aspect. I have the definitions there from multiple sources. In essence, I think when you think of cyber, you think of that defensive function we're trying to protect, which is absolutely critical to our nation, to everything that we have. We have a responsibility to defend our infrastructure. If things were to occur within the United States that would bring electrical systems down, our water systems, our information. You absolutely, would have a massive impact on our country. So, associated with all of that defense is critical. However, one of the 5% of the 95%, there is a 5% range where there are responsibilities out there for offensive cyber operations. So, offensive cyber, defined in the joint pub, is placed there. It's the cyberspace operations intended to project the power by the application of force in or through cyberspace. So organizations within our government have what's described as Title 10, Title 50, and in the Department of Justice, there's Title 18, that there are functions that are associated with OCO as a whole, a little more on the bottom part too. So there's two pieces, as it says, the intelligence and surveillance and reconnaissance. So offensive cyber can not just be about applying force, but it can also be gathering information without the intent to cause denial, disruption, or destruction, And so you can see, can contrast it to the application of force, often described as that manipulate, deny, disrupt, degrade, or destroy other systems. And so what might that mean in a real world environment? So if there's you can have an effect on if at times of war for the application of force, if you have airplanes, friendly U.S. airplanes that are about to fly into an area, and there is a requirement that radars are disabled or any of these other functionalities that you're looking for, there might be a cyber path, vice dropping bombs in those spaces. So there's a lot of thought that goes into these things. There's a lot of skill sets that are required to help make that happen. Cyber Command is very vocal about this. Other organizations that they're very sensitive about the operations that are associated with what they're doing. So, and as Troy described, clearance levels are critical. So it's exciting work. It's what drives me personally. I've always enjoyed it. If one of those things is you really have to enjoy your job, you have to really think something is cool. This has always made me very happy, very excited all the time. I enjoy I often tell people I have the best job in the world. I get to see a lot of these things going on, and I think it's an exciting to help and bring people into it. The aspect of that is this cool, right? We always talk about the cool factor, but some people go, it's not my thing, right? But for those that are excited by it, that have that passion, and I'll talk a little bit about that passion on the next slide too. So. Um, that being those two areas being defined, we can go to the next slide. I lead our advanced cyber solutions division, and where our focus is on those customers that have the authorities to do offensive operations and ISR operations in that cyber side of the house. We've been doing this for more than 20 years. We've been supporting the intelligence community and the Department of Defense. Areas that we support depicted on the right-hand side, you can see a wheel around the organizational there. So the first thing is you can in the upper right, we have the operations planning. So we help our customers as they plan operations. So in that environment, there's multiple skill sets of people that we seek in that data scientists. People with planning backgrounds and strong understanding of cyber capabilities. One of our largest areas is next, and that is on the development. Most of the positions that we generally have out there are for developers and software development. People that have most of the work is involved in low-level languages as where it starts. So there's very little at the top where it's JavaScript, but when you always see different people talk about computer science from high to low, but in my definitions as I'm speaking, closer to the human and readable is at the high side, and then as we get closer down to hardware, where we look at assembly language, where we need to understand what's going on instruction by instruction level. That's critical at the low side. So a lot of our personnel have good understanding of what's happening at the lowest levels of development. Some other skill sets that are very relevant in our development phase is reverse engineering. So personnel with good skill sets with Kedra. If you're familiar with that, also IDA Pro are good reverse engineering tools. So people that are interested in those things that have the skills. Part of that reverse engineering includes vulnerability research. There's always an ongoing need to understand what vulnerabilities exist in software, and that's to help support those missions. Um, as we develop those things, one of the next phases is the test and evaluation. So once something is created, we have a lot of personnel with different Python skills that have different capabilities because we need to test anything that's developed. It's always a software development best practice to have different people testing software than you had that developed it. This helps to ensure that there's no bias in the test and that if you have good software development experiences, you always know, well, the adage of the developers, well, it worked in my environment. And so you always want to pull it out and try it in a new space and have someone else try it and follow it and say, yeah, this does work as intended. So the test and evaluation side, a lot of quality control, a lot of uh, like I said, Python, there's a lot of automation associated with it in the test and evaluation. So skill sets that correlate to that, attention to detail, and making sure that you have good documentation. So documentation folks. So there's a lot of different skill sets to help that evolve. We know where the platform, as we start to bring platforms together, you bring individual pieces together, then they have to come together within platforms. And so as these merge together, the skill sets that individual tools need to be able to ride on include system engineers have to be able to put it together. So there's a lot of system engineering capabilities there, as well as network engineering, a lot of complicated storage skill sets. So throughout that process, um, complex engineering, systems engineer, IT engineering occurs in that platform section. Delivery and ops support. So as tools are engaged and as tools are used during operations, help is necessary as well as in support of direct support of those operations. Um, there is important skills that come with understanding how to use tools, how to use platforms. There's a lot of training associated with that to make that work. And in essence, it's continuing to support missions as they're occurring, which is super exciting. Post ops is after operations have occurred. There's always lots of data. There's always lessons learned. So data scientists, AI, aggregation of information, and along those lines is what is critical in making sure that that stage within operations are successful. If you notice our logo is, a lot of organizations use a shield to show their defensive aspects. Our ACS logo is tied to the opposite of that. So we're demonstrating our tip of the spear capabilities, penetrating those penetrating those shields of adversaries is our goal to help our focus. So. Where we are, and we have about 200 professionals today, OCO professionals within my division. I look for individuals that have three core elements in their inside of them as part of their value. Number one, passion. If you're not excited by this work, if it's not something that makes you want to come to work and that says this is exciting, this isn't the place for you. We really love this kind of thing. This mission is very critical, but if it takes passion to do it, and our team is filled with people who really like it. You'll get people who are like, well, I'm kind of back and forth, and I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like, okay, then our values don't align, and we'll look elsewhere, right? But if you're passionate about this mission and you enjoy it, you want to be a part of it. If it's exciting, then we're aligned with passion. The second aspect is capacity. So right now, the capacity that aligns to this is hard. This is not easy work, right? So being able to do this, you're having to outsmart a lot of folks that have laid the groundwork for strong defenses. You have to think through software. So it's not for everybody. We look for the top tier talent. That's what we're always seeking. We have to we have to be able to overcome the nation's adversaries who they're leveraging their top talent, and we need our nation's top talent for this fight. So it takes a lot of the smartest folks. We go through a lot of the top schools in the nation to help identify top talent coming out. We're always looking for the top talent that to bring to bear on this mission. And the last part is humility. We're a team, and that's got to start with the teamwork. None of this is done on an individual's shoulders. You're always working together. You have to have a good team mentality. And I don't care if you just came from school or if you've been working with us for 10, 15 years. If you've got the right answer if you have the solution to the problem and it's going to work, then that's what we go with, what's going to be effective. There's always trade-offs in that. We always are we respect all the professionals in our organization because they were selected to be part of this team, and that means a lot. So the humility also entails that these aren't the things you're going to be able to talk about and stand up at a DEF CON. You're not going to stand up and tell your family about the successes that you had, about the impacts you've had, the benefits you provided to our country. You're not going to be able to talk about those things in a public forum. You'll be recognized by our team internally. You'll be respected by those that are in this mission space that have that, but it is not something if you have a need to be showered with attention, this isn't the place for you either, right? So this is something that humility and that teamwork is critical and essential to keeping us flowing in these spaces and making sure that we are an effective for all of our customers that we support. Where do we do this work? So generally it's in secure spaces in Maryland, Virginia, Texas, Colorado. We also have personnel that some of our opportunities have some remote work. So there is limited remote work, but the majority of it is in person for cleared personnel. As you can see, there's 90% of our folks are all cleared. That will continue to be that way as we work with our customers who require and set those classification requirements for the type of work that we're supporting. One of the other notes in there is you'll see a Faraday cage. So a lot of the times is a lot of the customers, and there's Wi-Fi capabilities, there's RF capabilities, and all of those things need to be not interfered with. And so a Faraday cage helps enable us to do that development on different technologies that do not escape the environments that they're not meant to be coming from. We currently have about 25 different contracts across the Department of Defense and the EIC. One of the things that makes ManTech unique is all of these skills are aligned within the Advanced Cyber Solutions Division. So trying to correlate this has helped really over 20 years to build out a structure where it enables mobility within the organization of like skilled individuals. This helps our retention. It helps our career growth capabilities. What's valuable to a lot of the individuals on our team is they may be chasing a technology for a couple of years and they're like, I really like this tech and I feel like I've mastered it. Some technical people are like, I want to only stay on this exact same thing the whole time. I am a Linux person through and through, for example, and that's all they ever want to touch, and that's great. If that's what keeps you excited, I'm all for it, right? We support that. But a lot of people in the organization are very curious. The nature of this work attracts very open-minded, curious folks because your job is often to find things that you're not supposed to look for and you're not supposed to be out there. So a lot of people want to try, well, I feel like I've mastered this technology. Let me shift over here. Or, hey, I've been doing development. Now I'd like to do some vulnerability research. Or as we move through those different skills, I support that. We found very well-rounded developers who like to shift around. We also have people who move into leadership roles as it goes through. I myself started out as a developer and transitioned into leadership and found value throughout my career in having a good balance between everything that we're doing. Um, that concludes on this slide. Can we go to the next slide, please? How do we get from someone who doesn't have those skills to getting those skills? So back in the 2009, 2008 area, we identified that, the schools don't teach the skills that are necessary to be successful in these spaces. That there's a large gap in making that happen to say, okay, hey, before someone can do this work, there are other skills that we need to bolster. We don't teach core programming. We need people to know how to do that. We expect schools, we expect people to come on board as good programmers. But we balance that though against the backgrounds of individuals and their passion, and we can push people through our training courses. We not only train ManTech people, but we train government organizations as well in this capability development of how to do CNO development. We start with a core module where we go through Python, networks, assembly, reverse engineering, and then it ends with a core crucible. And while that lists Python and networks, and you'll say, well, I know Python and networks, but we expect you to know all of these subjects primarily with the first three, but we're going to talk to you. We train you on what the offensive look is on each of these. How do we leverage these things? How do we craft packets within Python? How do we look at network analysis capabilities to help identify where vulnerabilities might be in something? So all of these things are associated with the assumption you have a core understanding of them, but then we show you how to take it to a level that's more valuable for what our mission goals are. Reverse engineering requires a great understanding within assembly already, 64-bit, and we work on tools such as, as I described, Ghidra and IDA Pro, across the board. In the user mode development, we look at the systems, how the internal systems work is critical. We look at vulnerability research. We want to make sure that people know how to find vulnerabilities. What is a stack overflow? What is a heap overflow? How do we do it in 32-bit systems? How's it occurring today in 64-bit systems? What are those changes? What are the defenses in modern operating systems that try to prevent those from occurring? Applications are full of vulnerabilities. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of capabilities out there in available on the internet that help assess the if there are vulnerabilities in software and operating systems and web browsers and lots of capabilities out there. So understanding how to use them, understanding why they work, understand how to make that happen is the fundamentals of that is being taught in our user modes classes. On the kernel mode development, that is getting under the hood of how an operating system works, how it functions, and understanding how what often is termed as malware. We're understanding how those things is how are those things created to how to so that we can make sure that the intentions are there for what's going on inside the kernel. So we know that a lot of opportunities exist there when it comes to capabilities that we develop and understanding what they do inside that, and then demonstrating and teaching how a kernel works and how things can be overwritten, tables are moved around, and from an offensive perspective. So again, we're not, there's an assumption that there's a computer science background and that we're not just teaching these things, but we're teaching then how to apply what you know and how to manipulate the information to make it go in the direction that it was never intended to go. So, next slide, please. Some of our IRAD projects that we're working on, and IRAD is some of the internal research. I cannot speak about the things that we're doing for our customers. So, but what I can talk to you a little bit about is just a taste of some of the things that we're researching. Throughout this process, throughout the process of advancing our OCO capabilities, large language models have been blossoming in their capabilities. So we've had an ongoing research project since April 2023, where we're doing our analysis on how can we leverage large language models to speed up the development process, the vulnerability research process, as well as all the stages, including testing, documentation writing, to make it happen faster. Customers that we have need capabilities faster and faster and faster. So can we use these capabilities? Are they hype? Is it not going to work? Is the technology not quite there yet? It's getting better and better. There's been a lot of analysis and a lot of products coming out, a lot of that are driving the speed at which you can do reverse engineering because it aligns well with the technology to understand, well, this is assembly. Quickly show me now what is this really doing, so as for making it more human readable faster than manually done before. As we look at the different elements, and as I described the whole operation cycle that was being shown before, we have to look at agentic AI and how we can connect these together to speed up those processes as well. So as we're getting something out of development, can we kick off the test environments? Can we connect all these pieces together to make the entire cycle occur faster and ideally better than humans? Is it possible? That's something that's to be determined. I personally believe it's having its stages of growth. It's going to get there, but every aspect of all industries is evaluating where AI fits in, and so are we. And this is that project: is how does AI connect to that? Next slide, please. So one of our other projects we call internal hyperdrive, and our FUSM project, and this is specifically focused on as we do vulnerability research. We have our own proprietary solutions where we are bringing in open source capabilities and mixing them with things that we've developed to advance the speed and the ability to identify vulnerabilities in software. So very popular out there is libafl. That is state of the art on the fuzzing side. When we look at tools like Kimu for the system emulation, embedded targets. When we look at vulnerability research in lots of different systems, embedded systems, there are traditional operating systems like Windows and Linux. You have mobile devices, and then there are all kinds of devices that are out there that are connected to that can be simple routers to SCADA systems to any of these capabilities, and there is an inherent need to understand if there's vulnerabilities in in any of those systems. So emulation can speed that process up if to know if there's vulnerabilities in there. There's always a risk in real hardware of breaking it. So, but if you have it emulated and you do something that breaks it, in our terms, we call it bricking it. You can brick a piece of gear, and then you're stuck, and you're coming to say, hey, we need some more pieces of gear because we bricked some. So if we can get it working first in an emulated environment, knowing that we're functional there, and as well that helps the automation if we can do it in an emulated space. So a lot of emulation. There's a lot of value in digital twinning as correlating to that as we uh, go in the emulation processes and doing it. So for that, we're looking for, skill sets with C, Rust, and Python are always critical to making that happen. Um, and we'll be able to then for interns and hires that we bring on that are working on some of these IRADs, we'll be looking across the board to help automate vulnerability research. So I think that should be the last slide. If you go to the next slide, I think if you're interested and you have these skills, you want the skills, you have the clearances and want to transition to do this work, if you want to be engaged in this, if you're passionate about it, and that is the number one criteria. If what I've described, you're like, meh, don't bother. If it's exciting for you, we've had some, and we have for interns, we have had some come and they want to try it for a summer, and then they come back and like, I really want to go chase game design. They say, thank you very much, but this takes a lot of what we call beating your head on the keyboard because it's not always easy progress. So there's a lot of things, and so if you got to be passionate about it, number one. So if you're passionate about this, if this excites you, please go ahead and scan that QR code and put your name in there, and then we'll take an evaluation and go forward from there. Um, I'll turn it back over. Are any other questions? I think this is general Q&A, so I'll stop talking now and turn it back over.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Troy. Hey, they knew this was a Clearance Jobs webinar. They got insider risk and they got cyber. You have it all here. So really appreciated your sharing that expertise. I love highlighting the breadth of opportunities, right? You kind of think of ManTech as a high-tech company. You certainly are, but I love the insider risk examples because we know there's a huge human element to that too. I know you mentioned at the beginning, Jessica, you have 45% of your workforce is veterans. I know that insider risk track from working in the security field, right, is a great one for veterans to pursue because you probably had to deal with a lot of those skill sets. I work with a ton of facility security officers. There's a common question for those folks like, hey, what's next after being a facility security officer? Sounds like maybe they can call ManTech because that kind of insider risk work across the customer base is probably, a great segue. So you mentioned internships. That's a question that we always get. Kind of what different career levels are you hiring for? Are there certain, I know sometimes that's contract dependent, right? A certain number of years of experience, but I'd love to get from both Troy and Brian some ideas of the experience levels that you might be most keyed in on right now for some of the opportunities that you have.
So
You want me to go first?
that works for me.
Okay. The short answer is we're looking for all, particularly in a lot of customers. They want everything from the 0 to 2 years of experience all the way up through the senior level. But for us, I would say we're very interested in, like, we're going to find the senior levels. We've been at this long enough, and our industries are pretty mature, and I don't have any angst in trying to find like the truly senior folks that are really good at their craft. What I'm most interested in is the next generation, right? And getting them up to speed and having them like as Brian was saying, trade their, extend their passion into a career in insider risk in this example, and really applying all of those principles, the training that we can give as ManTech to allow someone to really have a career, not just a job, right? We don't want to just give a job. We want a career through not maybe just my program or the programs that I've done, but then within ManTech and just the broader security realm or cyber realm. There's a lot of advancement there. So I'm very, very keen on the 0 to 5. That's a difficult at times for us to find the right talent, kind of across all of the positions that we look to fill.
Great. And so, short answer, all, but a little bit more on the senior level folks. So we have a lot of entry level people. We scour schools for that. And a lot of our customers want some more senior level folks engaged. It's, they want, sometimes, we have these conversations with customers and they want, 20 years of Windows 11 experience, and we're like, wait, so it's one of those. So we often have that need where more of the openings are tied around some of the senior positions, but all are available as we try to grow out all the things that we're doing.
Awesome. And then Troy has a question in the Q&A asking about how the government shutdown is impacting current contracts. So that's a common question we're getting. Are you having hiring freezes or having to reduce work hours because of that? I don't know if any of you want to speak to that.
Yeah, this is similar to COVID. I was managing a program to COVID. I will tell you that because of the prolonged length of the shutdown, some programs are going on an alternate work week, blue, gold, red, blue, whatever you want to call it. Some have been asked to reduced hours. So it is, even for essential personnel. Although I'll tell you, I was over at the parking lots for many of those agencies today, and they seem to be full. But yes, there is an impact, and it's mostly just in the realm of reducing hours at this point, because the mission is that important that they've not been asked to we're going to just do away with this. We're going to cut these people. It's just a drawdown on the number of hours that they can bill.
And all that to say that we are still hiring, right?
Yeah.
We've got many, many vacancies. We've got many mission critical roles that still need to report on site, that still have critical work to do. So we are still actively engaged with candidates and hiring full-time staff.
Yeah, and I'll add on that the concerns of the shutdown are temporary. Everything passes. This will pass. It is a temporary. Throughout my career and throughout there's shutdowns occurring rarely. It's not it has temporary impacts, but that's not what we build our teams and our organizations around on these temporary statuses. And so there have been some changes in hours, but the mission criticality still drives most of those decisions. So we're still driving forward. There will be times in the future, but again, this is temporary and it will pass.
Awesome. Hopefully soon. Fingers crossed. So Matthew asks about positions in data science and AI. So it sounds like, Brian, that might be a question for you. He said, seen roles for like Python and some other tools, but kind of specifically to maybe AI or data science, what opportunities are out there?
It's a great question. So a lot of our specifics of those, if are still tied within the overarching CNO. So as you apply to a CNO position, if you have those skill sets in there, then we'll match that up with the areas where those skill sets are pulled forth. So data science is, obviously with AI, it's everything is getting some variance of AI. So I know that there are some focuses now where some people have careers like I'm only doing AI or I'm only doing those things, but it's definitely touches everything. So CNO and the CNO positions that we have, if you have those skills, then certainly make those applications in those spots. In the data science concepts, there are some jobs that are not listed right now, probably as data science only. But if you have those skills, apply to the CNO positions, they still will require a lot of the fundamental capabilities that we talked about in the programming areas. Data science leverages a lot more of the Python, pandas, and a lot of those things, and we have fewer of those positions than we have of the development. But go ahead and get your information in, and certainly we'll try to find matches to where those are.
Awesome. I think the webinar was encouraging it from that lens too, because a common refrain I get is like, hey, where are the entry level positions maybe, or where is the skills transition, right? To your point, you come out of college, you have a data science or an AI major, but those, positions in GovCon are typically applied to taking that skill set and applying it. So from what I got from you, Brian, it sounds like ManTech has really paved the way when it comes to training and saying, hey, if you functionally know this area, you can help some of those professionals pivot into finding that opportunity that can really support the government. And God, I mean, supporting national security is cooler than gaming, people. Let me tell you, you just got to get that clearance, get in that skiff, man. Well, those are the only questions we got. Did you have anything else you wanted to conclude on, or Jessica, any reminders for us? Oh, wait, we got 5 more minutes, and Elizabeth is getting in at the last minute here. So I want to take her question quick, and then we will close out. So kind of talk about software roles having hard requirements for a technical degree. So I don't want to miss out on this one, because this is another common one we get with the transition to skills-based hiring. Is having a non-technical degree a blocker, or not having a degree, even if you do have experience?
Sure. Wait, Troy, you want to go first,
Yeah.
or
What we try to do there, you'll see that sometimes a government will put in a requirement, but generally the government also gives us time to reply back and say, hey, you should probably change that from a required to a desired. And in my experience, we're able to work with the customer, and other companies are doing the same thing. They kind of push back and say, hey, maybe that shouldn't be a hard line requirement, because we do come across lots of great individuals that have no degree or degree in a different area. So there are times where yes, it is a requirement, but I think by and large there's the workarounds when it comes to total years of experience replacing a degree, or we will the government, the customer, if you will put that ultimately as a desired. And that's stuff that we will work through and communicate with the candidate when we're in that interview recruiting phase.
so I would, in essence, the same thing, right? So short answer is yes. Some have that requirement. Not everything does. Most opportunities, depends upon what we're looking for, will have the hard line requirement of a bachelor's degree in a technical field. And that just stems from the government setting those labor cats, as Troy said it, right? So everything we're doing, and for a lot of the work we do, is that. However, there are opportunities that don't. There are opportunities and types that say that we just need a finished product. And we've had great success with people who don't have some hard technical degrees, but they're just naturally apt at it. So it's not a good answer, but it depends. So, but more opportunities will be more doors are opened with the technical degree in there.
I mean, it depends is the answer to everything. And I will say, Elizabeth, if you have a Space Force experience, a TSSCI, and technical skills in some of the languages you note, I'm pretty sure somebody on Jessica's team will be contacting you this week, right? Because I think having that skill set is typically something that folks are looking for, and having that military experience on those programs and being able to transition it. So what I always say is read the requirements of the job, but certainly don't let it stop you, because especially if you came out of the military and you have a bachelor's degree in an unrelated field, there's a lot of creative ways that a company like ManTech, with the breadth of contracts and experience you have, can find somebody who has really great skills and place them somewhere. And that's one of the great reasons to apply for a position at ManTech and to find a good partner like that. So I know we're at time. Jessica, is there any final takeaways or URLs? Or Brian's got a last.
I got one more thing for Jessica. It was right. I think it was at the May was Elizabeth, right? So
Yes.
so one of the things that ManTech also does do is we have tuition assistance. So if you want that technical degree, we get you on board, we get you in those spots. We can help you with tuition assistance to finish that degree, to get you to that spot that helps you work to a higher labor category to get you to career development. So I just want to make sure that that door that is an opportunity with the company to make that happen.
Awesome.
No,